Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we are going to look at the Woox bad boy hunting knife and the Woox Terra axe. Now Woox is a company whose products I've actually taken a look at a couple of times now. More specifically, I've seen them at SHOT Show. They have some amazing products in terms of the firearms industry, and in today's case, some more camp-style gear. So this is perfect for my Outer Limitless channel, outdoor hiking, camping, and backpacking gear. And here you can see a couple of really nice Woox products. And as we get into it right away, excellent presentation, nice box, and well, Woox, they're saying the future of tradition. We'll see that as we take a look here today. Very simple in terms of the packaging. You could probably use this as tinder. I'd be curious to see. Maybe I'll test that in a future review as we get these out into the field. But for today, first look and impressions here. We're going to take a look at these in terms of the fit and finish, materials, overall quality, craftsmanship, all the things we need to take a look at here to see what we're walking into with Woox camping products. Now, right away here we have the general user's manual statement, which is all pretty much warnings, use and maintenance, and disclaimers. But first here with the knife. So this is the Woox Bad Boy Hunter. This definitely caught my attention while I was at SHOT Show. Has a very interesting design, and it's kind of a more of a sort of Skinner style, which I did like. I don't have a lot of blades in this particular shape in the lineup. And I also like that it could double as a lightweight EDC. Fairly thin in terms of the stock, but it was their handles that I really did enjoy. The Woox brand, and in terms of their firearms, leveraged some real nice walnut and micarta for their firearms stocks. And then they introduced them here on their blades, and I feel like that just goes very well. Now, in terms of the steel, D2 on this bad boy hunter, I know some people are going to give D2 a hard time. For me, I don't mind D2. In fact, I've used D2 on a number of my knife designs, and I like it. I feel like it actually wears very well. As long as you are careful and treat it well, it will treat you well. Fairly durable in terms of the edge. A little bit harder to get an edge back on. However, I also say if you don't chunk an edge, it's real easy to maintain this with a fine ceramic rod and a leather strop. Hardness of 60 HRC. Overall blade length here, you're looking at 3.75 inches. The overall length at 7.75 inches. Then the thickness on the stock there, 0.12, which is pretty much 1/8 of an inch. You can see in this case, you have a mid-height saber grind on the flat here going down to the secondary bevel. And the first thing I'm going to say, which is a little bit of a disappointment, and, you know, performance will prevail, but right away, the edge on that secondary bevel has me a little bit bummed out, I think. It doesn't feel quite refined to me. I feel like it's got some spots where it's just not going to bite. Down here, I don't know. It's just not very sharp right out of the box. And for 1/8 inch stock, this should be razor sharp. I'm just running this briefly under the microscope here. You know, this is what I'm talking about. And I could pretty much see this with my naked eye. But you can see that that edge is just not really well refined. There's spots where it kind of wavers. The tip is not entirely pointy. There's already hints of almost like glinting on the edge. It's not terrible, but in my opinion, I just feel like this could have been maybe a little bit sharper right out of the box. And then, of course, here you can see it widens out. That is a tough spot, and especially without a sharpening choil, that's fairly regular that this particular section will widen out a bit on that secondary grind. But again, as I mentioned, use will prevail. So that's to be had once we get this out into the field. In terms of the handle, I have a couple of thoughts. I do like the size, and it's interesting because this is barely a 4-finger grip. It's so tight, it's close, but I don't mind that. I actually kind of like that this is tight and controlled. This is going to allow you to get way up on the front of the blade. Keep in mind the fact that, they are calling this a hunter. So this allows you to get a very interesting grip where you can use that alternate grip, get way up, and have incredibly precise control of the tip, the belly. So if you're into hunting and skinning, that should work very well. Wood can be hit or miss in terms of hunting application. Obviously, a very traditional material used on knives for generations. In that particular case, no problem. These days, micarta's a little better for cleanup, but I don't have any problem with that, and I kind of like that this has some tradition in terms of its general nature. Bolt-on design, as you can see with the oversized bolts, it actually looks really good to me. I like the way this looks quite a bit. The walnut is very nice, and what I like that they did, and it works very well, they've already undersized the scales, which works to the advantage that the tang of the knife has been softened and rounded enough that there's no sharp spots. Sometimes companies make a fatal flaw with knives that utilize wood scales because wood will shrink. And if they don't pay attention to the tang of the knife and leave it a little bit sharp, you can have a very sharp spine. The entire tang of the knife can be very sharp when the scales actually shrink, but Woox took care of that already by softening everything well enough and already undersizing the scales. So if they do shrink, no problem at all. I kind of like that about this. Massive amount of jimping over the top. That's going to work for your thumb all the way up to the front of the blade. You can see as I grip this, literally melting perfectly into my hand with the thumb all the way to the front. So that works out well. And that's going to also be very controlled. And then on the underside, in this indexing choil, you can see that also has jimping. So very good in terms of the control for this knife. It's just a matter of if you like the way it feels in the hand. It's a little bit blocky and does have a little bit of some hot spots. So if you were doing some harder use, I do think this would beat up on your hands just a bit, but the walnut is nicely sanded and rounded and contoured in most areas. So it should strike the balance between something that's going to fit in your hands okay and maybe just has a little bit of a hot spot. I do find that on the back end with that pommel, because this is pointed, that also digs in just a little bit. So in a future version of this knife, if that was just simply rounded out, or if the user wants to take a little bit of sandpaper and just knock down those edges, I do think it would go a long way for comfort. The sheath is very nice. It's basic, but it's very nice. It is Italian leather. You can see it's machine stitched, but at the same time, done very well. There's not, heavy duty machine marks all the way around this thing. Sometimes you end up with, the foot from the machine you can see, but that's not the case here. Nicely done, nicely riveted, and very simple and basic in terms of its design. This is something that Woox could have done very easily, is sort of change the shape of this just a touch to make it ambidextrous, but this is a right hand carry, and you can see the way that they've integrated this little V in the leather itself does index the knife nicely. You have a snap over the top to fit everything together, and a little W there for the Woox branding. Belt loop in the back, again, very simple. You could treat this with some wax, you could treat it with snow seal, you could treat this with a number of different products and really make it pop. So the wood and leather combination, beautiful, very traditional. I do think there are some minor issues to contend with. I'll be curious about the edge and the overall sharpness out of the box and how it performs. But generally speaking, it's a cool knife. I like the shape, and I think it's trending in the right direction. But now, the Terra hunting axe. So again, Italian leather here on the mask. In this particular case, it's black, which is nicely done. Has some rivets and that W on the snap. So very basic and simple. No real way to attach this to a belt, but I wouldn't use it anyway, so that doesn't matter to me at all. 4140 in terms of the steel. And out of the box, again, this is dull. This is not sharp. Like, I'm not even afraid of getting cut by this. And I have axes that are scary sharp. So I'm not happy with the Woox edges. And I will report back to them that, to me, and in my opinion, that's just not acceptable. Look, I mean, I will literally just run my thumb up and down that with absolutely no fear. That's a shame. Look it, I mean, just, it won't even, I mean, why bother even trying to shave with this? But again, 4140 steel, which I have had axes in the past with 4140. Good durable steel, good edge retention, capable of being sharpened fairly easy, and a little bit of corrosion resistance, which is not a bad thing. 57 on the Rockwell hardness scale, and the body itself is tempered to 45 for some shock absorption, which might actually work fairly well. I'll be interested to see how that works. The micarta here is what they call the X grip. Now, keep in mind the fact that this X grip can also be obtained on the Bad Boy Hunter knife, and this Terra axe can also come with the walnut. So you do get your choice on both of them. I wanted to test these independently and just get some, feel for each one of them. So Woox did provide me with the walnut on the knife and then the micarta on the axe. You can see the bolt-on scales, and I'll be curious to see how this feels in the hand. The idea behind the X grip on the micarta is to help just drain liquids, blood, things that may get on this. And so we'll be kind of testing this out. And in my opinion, really more to see if it creates any hot spots or any issues with my hands over prolonged use. I really did want to see how this performed, and I felt like this would have better grip than the walnut, and especially for an axe. So this could certainly be multi-purpose, even though it's kind of in the class of a hunting axe. I will use this for wood processing, and it, again, that's why it kind of bums me out that this isn't sharper, because I could get on this, really make some nice feather sticks, no problem. I'm sure I could find a nice sharpened spot, or, take a Dremel and sharpen this and really rip a spark, no problem. So that could make this a really nice little camp hatchet. It's 25 ounces, so it's not that heavy, fairly slim, and with a real light mask, makes a light and compact package, all things considered. 5-inch length on the head, around 4 inches on that cutting edge. The overall length, 14 inches in totality. So again, fairly compact, but a nice size where you could do a number of different things. You end up with that sort of hammer pawl on the back where you could hammer in tent stakes or something like that. You could use this as a non-lethal to smash if you had to. Generally speaking, I do like this overall. It's just Woox again, and I'm going to say it for the very last time, other than in my conclusion, needs to pay attention to the grind and making sure these things are super sharp right out of the box. Now, I do like that this is a full tang construction. That works very well. You'll notice that this is open here, which will aid in the ability to lash this to gear. Also, a little bit of weight savings, and probably has a level of shock absorption. They did a nice job rounding everything out, so it should not create too much in the way of stress points. And the 4140 is going to be tough enough that I don't see any real worry here that this has any potential to break. It's good and thick, about a 1/4 inch thick there. So plenty of steel all the way around. Lower on the grip, you can see 2 holes there. Very nicely done in terms of the lanyard. I love the idea that you could actually put a lanyard through here and then still hang this up, which is kind of the traditional intention of the hole in the bottom. It's really not for a lanyard. In traditional axes, it's more to hang your axe. So this, you could actually put a lanyard and still hang it at the same time, which is cool. Or I probably won't put a lanyard at all, but you certainly could if you wanted to. I like the way this flares. It locks up in the hand very well. So I think this should perform generally well in the outdoors and well in terms of staying in your hands. I don't see that being a problem. And being at that 1/4 inch thick, it'll have enough heft. And I'm hoping that the bit is going to be broad enough that allows for some basic splitting and certainly creation of kindling and tinder. Now, all in all, I am not a hunter. I'm the outdoor woodsman, outdoor wilderness type of guy. So that's where these will come into play for me. I will definitely be putting these to some tasks. The Bad Boy Hunter will be perfect for some food prep. I'll bring it into the kitchen, maybe some backyard cooking. So that's where this will come into play. And then the fire prep, well, that's where the Terra axe will come into play. So generally speaking, I like these tools. Again, as I mentioned, I think Woox is on the right direction. They definitely have some refinements to go. More than anything, they really, again, need to pay attention to those grinds. But I think these products are close. You could certainly touch up your edges. That's not going to be a big deal. But at the price point that these ring in at, they should come laser sharp right out of the box. So with that future testing in the field to come, that was my first look and impression of the Woox Bad Boy Hunter and the Terra axe. Thank you guys for following along. I greatly appreciate it. Look in the description box below where you can find all of the relevant links for Woox products, not just what you see here with the axe and the knife, but all of Woox products, including their firearms stock lineups. Beautiful wood, nicely sculpted, interesting designs, and products that I can say are definitely trending in the right direction. So, all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.